Hello, travelers and monster catchers abound. I'm Stella Ferris, and you have crash landed on the Monster Catchers Journal podcast. Logged by Stella Ferris, 5:55 p.m. Forgotten Casino Ruins. Some glyphs choose their paths, others roll for it. In the shattered halls of the Hollow Jackpot Casino, nature had taken over. Vines curled around poker tables, moss crept across slot machines, and ivy punched through ceilings like it had been chasing something. Turns out it was that something. VinaLoot. A twisting, twitching mass of animated vines, pulsing with green and gold energy, but its most bizarre feature was its head. The large, weathered, six-sided die, with faint glowing dots on each side that shifted even when it stood still.
Wait, its head just spun on its own. It's landed on 3. And now it's juggling fire?
Zena said.
It's not just a plant. It's luck personified,
Luna said. VinaLoot moved unpredictably, its vines snapping and curling with flair. One moment it sprouted thorns, the next it turned transparent, hiding among the wreckage. Each time its die face changed, so did its powers. A 1, it shed all vines and curled into a ball. A 6, it unleashed a storm of razor leaves and laughter. A 4, it duplicated itself, sort of. The clone exploded into confetti. We weren't just fighting a glyph, we were playing a game we didn't understand. I gritted my teeth. This thing doesn't care about winning, it cares about the thrill. So we played back. I baited it with chance. Rolled a real die I'd found earlier, showed it the 6. It paused, curious, matching luck with luck. Then I offered it a deal. I'd take a hit if it gave me one shot to catch it. The die rolled a 5, it nodded. We both leapt, and I caught it just before its vines reshuffled again. Now I'll read the filled notes that I had for him later. I want to tell you guys the story. I just wanted to put this part in here. Just when I thought I had finally caught VinaLoot, he slipped through my grasp like greased vine, tumbling backwards with his mischievous grin plastered across his face. His wooden finger snatched up the die beside him, and with a dramatic flourish, he rolled it across the cracked stone floor. It clattered loudly, once, twice, 3 times, before settling on a 6. Oh no, I breathed. A deep, unnatural rumble echoed as vines twisted around his arm, shaping themselves into a crude but deadly bomb pulsing with green light. Before any of us could react, VinaLoot let out a shrill laugh and hurled the bomb straight at our group. Scatter, I yelled, throwing myself to the side just as the bomb struck the ground where we'd been standing. Zena dove the opposite way, rolling into a crouch with flawless reflexes. But Luna, she froze. Her eyes were wide, locked on the glowing sphere. There wasn't enough time for her to move. Luna, I screamed. In that split second, Meerno reacted without hesitation. With a fierce bellow, he planted himself between Luna and the bomb, his body tensing like a shield. The explosion ripped through the chamber, a deafening boom that made the walls tremble. The blast struck Meerno full on. Flames and vine shrapnel exploding outward in every direction. Luna was thrown back by the shockwave, but Meerno took the brunt of it, refusing to let a single spark touch her. A thick, acrid cloud of dust and debris filled the air, choking us all. My throat burned as I coughed, waving my hand blindly in front of my face. The world blurred in chaos. Shattered vines, echoing coughs, the faint groan of stone settling overhead. Luna! Meerno! Are you okay? I shouted in the haze, my voice cracking. Somewhere ahead I heard Luna's panicked voice calling Meerno's name. The dust hung heavy like a curtain, making it impossible to see more than a feet in front of me. my heart pounding against my ribs as the reality of the situation sank in. VinaLoot had rolled a perfect 6. Now the battle had shifted completely out of our control. When I'd finally pushed through the thick curtain of dust and rubble, my eyes burned and my lungs ached with every breath. I stumbled forward, blinking through the haze until I saw Luna. She was kneeling on the ground, holding her body hunched over protectively. Meerno lay limp in her arms, his usual bright eyes closed, his chest rising and falling in shallow, uneven breaths. His fur, normally smooth and glimmering faintly like polished stone, was scorched and tangled with ash. Luna's face was streaked with tears and dust, her shoulders shaking as she clutched him tightly. "Oh, Meerno, why would you do that?" she wailed, her voice cracking under the weight of panic and grief. I froze where I stood. I'd never heard her sound like that before, so raw, so broken. It tore straight through me. Slowly, I dropped to my knees beside her, the smell of smoke and burnt vines hung thick in the air. For a moment, it didn't feel like we were in the middle of a battle. It felt like the world had narrowed down to just this. Luna holding her best friend, begging him to wake up. "Luna," I whispered, but she didn't even look at me. She just held Meerno tighter, as if sheer willpower alone could bring him back. I swallowed hard, forcing myself to focus through the rising panic. Meerno wasn't gone. I could see the faint, uneven rise and fall of his chest. It was shallow, yes, but steady. He was still fighting. "He's not dead," I whispered to myself. More to keep calm than anything else. "He's still with us." My hands shook as I dug through my satchel, filling past tools, charms, and spare dice, till my fingers brushed against the smooth, cool surface of a glyphid. I pulled it out carefully. It glowed a gentle, pulsing green, casting light through the swirling dust like a lantern in fog. "Luna," I said firmly, moving closer to her. She didn't look up at first. Her eyes were locked on Meerno's face, tears streaking down her face, where the dust once was. "Luna, listen to me." "Luna, listen to me," I said. She glanced up, finally, her eyes wide and desperate. I knelt beside her and placed the glyphid gently into her trembling hands. "It's a healing glyphid," I said, making sure she heard every word. "We can still save him, but you have to do it." She stared down at the glowing sphere like she'd never seen one before, her breath catching in her throat, the light reflecting in her watery eyes. For a moment she looked so young and terrified. I don't know if I can," she whispered. "Yes, you can. I told you." My voice steady, even though my heart was hammering on my chest. "You're his partner. He trusts you more than anyone. All you have to do is focus. Pour everything you've got into the glyphid. It'll do the rest." Luna looked back down at Meerno. His breath hitched and a small whimper escaped his throat. That was all it took. Something inside her snapped back into place. She clutched the glyphid to her chest, closer to her eyes, and took a deep breath, shaky but good. The green light began to pulse brighter, responding to her touch. Tiny motes of energy lifted off the glyphid, swirling like fireflies caught in a gentle breeze. I watched silently, holding my breath. I knew this kind of healing wasn't easy. It drew from both the glyphid's stored energy and the user's willpower. But if anyone could do it, it was Luna. "Come on, Luna," I murmured. "Bring him back." And just like that, the green light that the glyphid was putting off pulsed brighter, a gentle hum filling the air. Meerno's small form seemed to lift slightly as if drawn by an invisible current. Slowly, almost reverently, he was pulled inside the glowing sphere. The green light wrapped around him like a cocoon. Luna's arms tightened around it instinctively, as if holding him close could help guide him through the process. I watched silently, my heart pounding in my chest. It wasn't immediate, and there was no dramatic explosion or flash of light, just the steady, calming pull of the glyphid doing its work. The dust around us swirled and settled, and for The first time in what felt like forever, the chaos seemed to pause. He'll be inside for 4 days, I said softly, almost to myself, though Luna's tear-streaked face was tilted toward the sphere. That's how long it takes to fully heal? She blinked up at me, voice trembling. 4 days and just inside? I nodded, yeah. But look at him, he's alive. That's what matters. 4 days of rest is a small price to pay for keeping him with us. The thought settled in in my chest like stone, heavy but comforting. Every cough from the lingering dust, every sharp ache from the blast, it all felt worth it. Meerno was going to be okay, he was safe, and as the green glow dimmed to a steady, serene pulse, I realized that sometimes survival meant patience, and patience could be a gift even in the middle of chaos. I placed a hand on Luna's shoulder, giving it a gentle squeeze. He's strong, so are you. Now we just need to make it through the next 4 days without letting him down. She nodded, gripping the glyphid tighter, her sobs quieting to soft. Shaky breaths around us, the air slowly cleared, but the memory of the blast of Meerno's sacrifice lingered. The battle wasn't over, but for now, life had won, and that small victory felt bigger than any dice roll. VinaLoot was already darting towards the exit, his eyes glinting with mischief and fury. I could almost hear the wheels turning in his chaotic little mind, plotting his next move. My heart pounded as I realized if he got away, he'd only come back stronger, more dangerous than he was before. There was no way I was letting that happen. I reached into my satchel and pulled out the prison glyphid. My fingers trembled slightly as I gripped it. The green glow of the healing glyphid still lingered faintly in my mind, but now it was time for something sharper, something that would hold him. I placed the prison glyphid on the ground, my eyes never leaving VinaLoot, and whispered the activation command as I pressed the button. The air around it shimmered like a disturbed pond, and within seconds an invisible force erupted from the glyphid. It wrapped around the VinaLoot like liquid iron, forming chains that shimmered with energy. He screamed, trying to twist and turn, but the chains tightened with every struggle, holding him fast. Shh! VinaLoot shrieked, his frantic hissing erupted in a loud burst, but it was useless. The prison glyphid had done its job perfectly. VinaLoot thrashed, pulling at the chains, sparks flying with every motion, but the more he fought, the tighter they held. I took a deep breath, feeling a rush of relief wash over me. In a matter of seconds, the chaotic threat that had nearly destroyed us was contained. The chains glowed faintly, a constant reminder that he couldn't escape. Not now, not ever, at least, until the prison's power ran its course. Gotcha, I muttered under my breath, letting myself finally relax around us. The dust still hung thick in the air, but for the first time since the attack began, we had a sense of control. VinaLoot's struggles were frantic, but they no longer scared me. The battle was far from over, but this small victory, this precise, perfectly timed strike was ours. And with VinaLoot finally secured and trapped in a prison glyphid, a tense quiet settled over the area. The dust had begun to clear. Echoes of the explosions and scrambling vines faded into memory. My lungs still burned, my heart was still racing, but the immediate danger was over. I glanced at Luna, who was still kneeling with the healing glyphid cradled, holding Meerno. Her face was pale but determined, and I could see the flicker of hope in her eyes. For now she had a moment to breathe, just as I did. I turned away from the chaos, my mind already shifting to the next step. The prison glyphid pulsed in my hand faintly, reminding me of its captive within. VinaLoot wasn't gone forever. He was merely restrained, and it was my responsibility to ensure he didn't break free. All that remained was to return to Orion. To him, this beast belonged. I had done my part, caught the creature, contained its chaos, and kept my friend safe. Now it was up to him to take custody, to study, to secure it properly. As I set off, my steps carefully over the debris-strewn ground, I couldn't help but feel the weight of the responsibility on my shoulders. This was no ordinary task. Handing over a creature like VinaLoot wasn't just a formality, it was trust, discipline, and a test of my own resolve. I tightened my grip on the glyphid. The chains wrapped around VinaLoot seemed to pulse in rhythm with my heartbeat, a constant reminder that this battle was over, but the war was far from done. With a deep breath, I focused ahead. Whew. Orion awaited, and I would see this through. The beast was contained, my friends were safe, and now it was time to deliver the chaos back into capable hands. When I'd returned to the Luan Academy, Orion was already waiting. His figure stood rigid in the dim light of the courtyard, the sleeves of his robe hanging perfectly straight. His posture exactly as always, but his face bore a solemn look that immediately made my chest tighten. He didn't need words to know what had happened. He already knew. Somehow impossibly. He knew about the chaos we had just endured, about VinaLoot's attack, and about how close we had come to being hurt. His eyes met mine, calm, yet piercing, and I could feel the weight of his gaze, cutting through every layer of pretense. "You've returned," he said simply, his voice steady but carrying an unspoken question. "Were they safe? Did you all survive?" I shifted the prison glyphid slightly, feeling the pulse of energy from VinaLoot inside. "Yes," I said, my voice firm but carrying the fatigue and relief that clung to me. "VinaLoot is contained. Meerno is recovering. Luna's handling it." Orion's eyes softened just slightly. A fleeting acknowledgement of danger we had faced and the choices we had made to protect each other, but even with that small flicker of understanding, his presence reminded me that responsibility didn't end with capturing the beast. The moment we handed over VinaLoot, the consequences of everything that had happened would ripple outward, far beyond the courtyard walls. I took a deep breath and stepped closer, the glyphid secure in my grip. The tension in the air was thick. There was a strange comfort in the predictability of Orion's composure. He knew, he understood, and now it was time to relinquish what I had caught into the hands of someone who could truly contain it. "Thank you, Stella Ferris, for catching this untamable glyph," Orion said, his voice calm but carrying a weight of genuine gratitude. His words settled over me like a warm, steady hand in the midst of chaos. For the first time in hours, the tension in my chest loosened just a fraction. I blinked, trying to keep my composure, but the emotions I had been holding in all day, the fear, the relief, the exhaustion, finally broke through. A stray tear slid down my cheek, catching the faint glow of the courtyard lights. I didn't bother wiping it away. Somehow in the moment it felt like a release I had been needing. Orion's eyes softened ever so slightly, acknowledging the storm of emotions I had been carrying, though his expression remained steady. "You've done more than just capture a glyph," he continued quietly. "You've kept your friends safe, and you've proven your courage under fire. That is no small feat." My chest tightened, and I let out a shaky breath. The battle was over. VinaLoot was secure. Meerno was healing. For the first time in what felt like forever, I allowed myself to feel the weight of relief wash over me. The tears weren't just from fear or exhaustion. They were from recognition that, despite everything, we had survived and we had done it together. And that, I think, was the most important lesson that I learned out of this very riveting tale that I just told you, is that friendship is everything. The people around you that you love are everything. And if you don't have that, then what do you have? Well, this is another episode of the Monster Catcher's Journal podcast, and I'm sorry that it was so short. But we do have one more thing to do before I leave, because we need to get into my field report notes. Field notes. Name, VinaLoot. Or VinaLoot, sorry. I don't know why I keep calling him VinaLoot. It's not VinaLoot, it's VinaLoot. Type, grass, dark. Form, plant-like creature made of twisting vines with a large six-sided dice as its head. Each roll of the die alters its behavior and powers. Abilities, dice bloom. Randomly activates one of the 6 different vine-based abilities. Thorn toss, launches spiked seeds in a wild arc. Luck snare. The higher its die rolls, the stronger its trap. Behavior. Playful, chaotic, thrives in abandoned places where nature and forgotten chance meet. Loves risk. May play tricks on travelers just to see the reaction. Capture method. Must offer it a gamble, something unexpected. It only respects those willing to roll the die. VinaLoot doesn't grow like normal plants. It grows where chance takes root. And if you're lucky, it might just let you in. Bye now.